Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to the Architecture of Dishonored 2 series. In this video, we are going to look at the Royal Conservatory, which is that building that we're looking at right there. We are in the Syria Gardens district, if you remember that from earlier on. So before we go into the Royal Conservatory, a conservatory is a greenhouse where you keep exotic plants, right? So in parts of Europe where the climate is a little colder, people would build conservatories to grow plants that would otherwise not grow. In Europe, early on, back when conservatories first became popular, they grew oranges. So oranges were like imported from hotter climates, and so they built greenhouses so they can grow oranges in their homes. This was back when steel production, because the greenhouses are steel framed or iron framed, metal framed and glass. So when glass production and steel production became cheap enough for people to afford to use these things to build greenhouses. So it became popular for rich people to build greenhouses and grow oranges and impress their friends with oranges. In this game though, this conservatory is not actually a greenhouse. It's more like a museum. A museum is not a conservatory. A conservatory is specifically a greenhouse with plants in it. I mean, this has some plants in it, but it's more a museum. We might talk more about that at the end, but it's a little strange that the name doesn't match the building. Alright, so let's start off. So this is Syria Garden District, right? The building is quite big. Unfortunately, it's nighttime, so it's not too clear because it's kind of dark. The building is quite big, and it's quite well ornamented. As you can see, we have like detailing there, very fancy detailing there, arches and everything, big windows, pilasters, and it's huge, right? So there's like a 1, 2, 3, 4 floors, I think, maybe 5. Let me come down the street a little bit. So it extends all the way from there around to there. So compared to all the other buildings in the neighborhood, it is quite huge. Although having said that, for a museum, it's not that huge. Like if you think about any museums that you might know, some museums will have multiple giant dinosaur skeletons in them, or like a whale skeleton or something. Like you can imagine like a big museum. A big museum is actually substantially bigger than this. Although, it's a video game, so a lot of times buildings in video games are smaller than they are in the real world, like for gameplay reasons and for technical reasons, because you can't have an enormous level. So often buildings are smaller in video games. And so the fact that this museum is smaller than real-world museums, not too surprising, but something to keep in mind. Okay, so well, I guess we should check the outside first. Down here we have plants, water feature. I should use the stairs, shouldn't I? So coming down one end of the building, we have stairs, and then we have like a service entry into there. Let's not go down there for now. So in front of the building we have sort of a garden. And this sort of thing fits the conservatory theme, right? Because a conservatory is a place where you keep plants. It's like a plant collection. And so the fact that there's plants and water things in this little garden at the front, okay, this kind of fits the theme of a conservatory. Another service entry, by the way. We're not going to go into the service entry, at least not right now. Oh, we should look at this. So this is a poster for the conservatory. This is strange because this is not actually what the conservatory looks like. But here, the Roseborough Collection, cancelled. Join us at the Royal Conservatory as curator Brianna Ashworth plays host to the largest collection of Roseborough inventions, documents and sketches known throughout the Isles. Witness firsthand the genius of Esmond Roseborough. Right, so they're talking about a curator, which is a museum curator, or an art gallery curator, I guess there might be conservatory curators too. But it's a collection of inventions, documents, and sketches. It's not plants, right? So this is a museum exhibit. This is not a plant exhibit. And so the conservatory is not actually a conservatory, it's a museum. It should be the Royal Museum. Not sure why it's called the Royal Conservatory. This is not what the conservatory looks like. The conservatory is not as symmetrical, right? There is a central glass bit, and that looks fairly similar. And then that goes down one side, but the other side is, that side is wider than this side. And in fact, in the game, we don't actually go into this side at all. The game is only that side, in terms of gameplay. Who knows, maybe all the plants are in the side that we don't go into. Maybe it just so happens. And there's a whale there, look at that. So, in the drawing, there's a whale in the atrium. Very interesting, isn't it? Maybe that's like concept art. Maybe the level has changed over time. There's no whale in here. That's a shame. Alright, let's come in here. Oh, we can read this too, right? The Royal Conservatory at Karnaca inaugurated date 1819 in partnership between Gristo and Serkonos. May our friendship endure always, dedicated by His Majesty Johann Jacob Coldwin. In honor of his beloved wife, the late Beatrix Blaine Coldwin. Right. So this is government funded by His Majesty Coldwin. You know, this sort of thing is a substantial investment into science. Right. I'm assuming this is open to the public. I mean, there's like a display there. Or the posters talks about how there are displays and it invites people to come visit the displays. So this is sort of like a public museum that the His Majesty has invested in. So like it's a substantial amount of money spent on public education and public science. Right, so you can kind of... Like I'm talking about this because this is like the economy and the philosophy of the government of this time. Right? So this is a government that's willing to invest in public education, is what I'm talking about. Is there anything we need to look at up close here? There's a lot of stone. It's very, very big and grand. Everything is. Look at this. So not only is it big, but it's also like quite decoratively ornamented. So they spend a lot of money on this. And they're spending money not just on the functions of the museum, but also on making the museum look cool. So it's not just functional, it's also decorative, right? So they're paying a lot of money for the whole package. All the windows are... I mean, they're kind of blind, you can't look into them. So I talked about the service entrance before, right? There was like side doors. The side doors come up the staircases here. And then there's a basement down there. We will go down there later on, not right now. Right now, let's make our way in the main entrance. And in the main entrance, we go directly into this glass atrium here. And inside, it is very impressive. So there is a glass roof here. Right, so I said, well, a conservatory is supposed to be a greenhouse, and look, there it is. There's the glass roof. Isn't this a greenhouse? Yes and no. I mean, there are plants. There are plants. And there is a glass roof. But the issue is that this is not a plant collection in the sense of a conservatory, right? A conservatory is all plants. It's primarily plants. This is not really primarily plants. This is primarily an atrium, a fancy atrium for a museum. Right? These are not very special plants. There's no oranges. And there's like not a lot of plants either, right? There's a lot of stone floors and then there's like one little plant. So this is not really a plant collection. It's just like a entryway. There's a turtle here. The turtle, you notice there's gears inside the turtle. So a big mechanical turtle. We don't ever see live turtles this big in the game, by the way, so we're not sure where these turtles come from. But this is like a museum display of a giant turtle. Alright, very cool. And then what else do we have to look at? As we said, this side of the building is completely shut in the game. We can't explore over here. We can only explore there, and then back here... there is implied basement, but there's no actual basement that we can go into, right? So, I mean, I did say earlier that the building actually is smaller than a real museum, but then the game implies that there's other spaces, it's just that they're not part of the gameplay. So maybe it's not that small, maybe it's big enough to be a you know, a decent museum. Anyway, for us though, the entrance is here, on this side. Is there anything... No, the glass roof does go all the way down the width of the building. Alright, so we come in here, and then we enter into a lobby. Restricted area down there. And then there's a hall back there. And then I guess this is sort of like a ticket booth, right? A staircase there. So here we have a staircase that goes up, and this is like we have a central circulation area right at the entrance, which is convenient, right? So you come into the building and immediately you can go in different directions, depending on where you're supposed to go. I guess we get tickets here. There's like boxes piled up there, not sure what's behind that thing. Let me sneak into the ticket booth because conveniently there's a map here. Right, let's look at the map. Alright, so 1 is ground floor, first floor. We came in here, so there were a few plants, and then the turtle was here. And so above this rectangle was the glass roof. And then 2 is lobby. So we went through the lobby, right now we are right there, looking at a map on the wall. So this is like the ticket area. The staircase going that way, and then the main hall is in here. It's not even labeled. Down here, number 6, stairs to lobby. Wait, stairs to lobby? That's interesting they labeled this. I guess it's because this is basement. So underneath, that goes down to a basement. Basement is archive, 7 is archive, and then 5 is a delivery entrance. So there's a service basement down there. Back here's main hall, and then at the back there's elevator, number 4. Number 4, elevator, elevator, elevator. So if you line that up, so there's staircase at the front, elevator at the back, and then in between there's the hall. If we go upstairs from there to the 2nd floor, we have a bit of a room there. And because remember that it is implied that there's more building behind on the other side, right? Which is not on this plan, which is kind of weird. Why would it not be on this plan? So this plan is only the gameplay map. It's not actually the building map. So this hall would go to the other wing of the building, if it existed. But in the game, it just doesn't go anywhere. There's the upper lobby area, and then the main hall, and then back here it's not labeled, but there are some offices back here, right? So this is 2. If we then go up to the 3rd floor, there is yet more offices. So this is above or below this. So above there's more offices there, and then the exhibition hall continues there, and then 1 is Curator Ashworth's office. Curator Ashworth's office is there, so it's above us. We are here right now, so right above us. So there's lobby, and then 2nd floor also lobby, and then 3rd floor is the curator's office. And then 4th floor, that's the curator's office. So the staircase from the curator's office go up here and around and up here. And this is also the curator's office. So 2 levels of lobby, 2 levels of curator's office. And then there's a space up here, which is right underneath the glass roof of the atrium. Does that make sense? Alright, try to memorize this, keep everything in mind, and then alright, let's go walk around the building. There's a little storage area behind the ticket office. Nothing too remarkable. Okay. Let's go straight into the main hall. In the main hall, we have a glass roof, actually. So, I mean, it's a conservatory in the sense that there are glass roofs, but there are not a lot of plants down here. In fact, it's more like a library. There's shelves on each side with a lot of books on them, and tables, which I guess is for the book reading. So it's more like a library. Maybe it's like city archives. It could be an archive, but it's not a conservatory. Right, so there's a library down here. What is this? Restroom? He had trouble pooping, and now he's dead. That's unfortunate. Alright, so there's a toilet here. Good. We need toilets. Over here we have membership recruitment. This would be closed. This would be staff only. So you come here and you get a museum membership, I guess. So they have some storage back there for documents and things. That's cool. He's having a bad day. On this side, behind these bookshelves, we have a sort of a lecture room, although there's not that much space for the audience. There's a screen back there, and there's a bit of a stage here. So I guess you're here to give lectures and... Oops, don't pull out the grenade. Right. To give lectures, maybe like give classes or talks or something. Right, so that's cool. And then we're back into the book area. There's a lot of these packed up crates and covered things, and we're not really sure what's underneath the cloth, right? So it's implied that there's more museum stuff, but everything's half packed up, and so we don't see what they really are. Right in the middle here, we have a birds display. A few flowers, but mostly it's an owl display. Right, so I mean, this would kind of make sense in a museum. Like maybe there's a biology exhibit in the museum, and so they're displaying these owls. So for now we have conservatory, which should be plants. But instead of plants we have books, so it's like a conservatory and then a library. The lighting glitch. Conservatory, so books in a library, but then also animal displays. You can kind of see how there's all sorts of things going on here, and we're not really sure what this building is actually supposed to be. Maybe it's just like everything. It's an everything display, right? It displays all sorts of things. Back here we have exhibition planning. Exhibition planning! So they have exhibits, which again implies a museum. And if you come into the exhibition planning, what are they planning? Paperwork? Machines? Engineering things? A lot of mechanical devices? Whale oil? Exhibition planning, what exhibitions are they planning here? Oh, right, this thing. So this is an arc pylon. It's a security device when it's powered by whale oil. If you walk through this thing, you will die. In fact, alright, well, I probably shouldn't throw. That's probably dangerous. Can I throw something less dangerous? This thing will explode, by the way, if you throw it, so I'm not gonna throw that right now. Can I find something else to throw? I mean, there's grenades. Excuse me while I distract myself with shenanigans. Maybe like a cup? A glass? Oh, bottle? Bottle. Okay, chloroform bottle. I don't know if the arc pylon... Did I say arc pylon? This is a wall of light, my bad. Similar thing. Does it sap the bottle? Oh, it does. Alright, that's what it does. So, I guess they're gonna display this murder machine in the museum or something? I don't know. Anyway, this is the exhibit. I guess they're planning to exhibit this, which is technology, right? Alright, out this door, exhibit planning. And then back here we have various mechanical devices on display behind the bookshelves. Right, so I guess that thing's just a really big version of this, right? Okay, I mean, alright, so they're gonna display this stuff. This is the ground floor. And if we look up, can't see too much. Okay, so before we go upstairs, I'm gonna go downstairs. Remember downstairs there's an archive and a service area down here. So every museum needs like a storage space and spaces where they prepare the displays and repair the displays if anything gets broken or, you know, needs some maintenance, right? So this is that area. We have storage. Unfortunately, there's been a bloodfly infestation down here, but we can still see that behind the bloodfly hives, nests, whatever they are, there are shelves, right, with like storage and all sorts of things in storage. And then back here, more storage in there. So whatever is not being displayed right now, they put into storage down here. What does that say? This is Forbidden Archive. I wonder if... what is forbidden? What exactly is forbidden about this archive? Not sure. But maybe this is stuff that you're not allowed to display, huh? And then over here we have another big turtle statue. Oh, we have giant paintings of monkeys? Cool. And more storage, and then getting out of the storage into this area. Look at this. That says exhibit maintenance. Right. So this is where they repair and maintain the exhibits to make sure they are in good shape, right? And then we have a work table. I think this is like a stuffed, not a crocodile, it's caiman? Is that what they're called? Like crocodiles, alligators, and caiman, is that what they're called? Anyway, there's a stuffed animal here, stuffed reptile, animal heads, and various other things, and a fish. Right, so this is where they prepare things for display. And notice it's biology displays, and there's butterflies here too. So biology, so now the museum, or the conservatory, has plants, books, birds, and other animals as well. And then more storage down here, right? So this all makes sense. Every museum needs, right, a back area. We have a quartermaster's office here. Quartermaster, I guess he's the guy in charge of maintaining the things on exhibit, and he's got a lot of paperwork and also work tables. Cool. More shelves, more storage, and then out here we have a service entry. This, as we said before, this goes back out to the street, right? Right, so this service entry. The problem is that this door is too small. How did they move the big things in here? Because there's a door here and there's no other doors. I mean, there's a staircase there. Most of these boxes do fit in the door. The giant turtle doesn't though. How did they get this thing in here? They need a bigger door down here, is what I'm saying. Aside from that little detail, this all makes sense. There's another little thing here. I think we have boilers down here. Electrical equipment, and then there you go, we have a furnace down here. Is that a boiler or a furnace? It says boiler. Boiler kiln. And a gutter. Alright, so this is various machines for power supply and hot water supply. Okay, let's go back up. So down in the basement, service area. On the first floor we have a library, I guess. And then let's go up to the second floor. Oh, do I need to... I should probably say something about the state of the architecture. It's very well maintained. Compared to the decay that we see in the other parts of the city, right? There are no leaks, nothing's peeling, there are not that many stains. The floor is mostly intact. So this is well maintained. Like despite everything else that's going on in the city, they are still keeping this in relatively good shape. It's not brand spanking new, and it's not like polished or anything. I mean, there is a bit of wear and tear, but not too bad. You know, I mean, not too bad. Things aren't broken or falling apart at all. Everything is still intact. Right, they could use a bit of a polish, but other than that, not bad. All right, so fairly well maintained, and quite fancy too. Like, look at the flooring here. Stonework is clean. We do have metal structures. It's all very ornate, isn't it? Not too colorful, but subtly ornate, if that makes sense. Okay, let's keep going. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, I guess I've said it already, is like they invested enough into public education to build the thing, and then they continue to invest in public education to keep the building maintained. Is what I'm saying. Upstairs, there's plants growing. Okay, aside from the plants growing indoors, everything is well maintained except for the giant plants growing inside the building. The giant plants, if you're wondering what's going on with that, the building has been taken over by witches. So Brianna Ashworth turns out to be a witch, and the witches here use nature magic. So they bring dogs back to life, and they also make plants grow, and the plants are hostile to you because they don't like you. So the witches use life magic, and because the building has been taken over by witches, the plants have also taken over the building a little bit. Upstairs, we can look outside. There's the turtle outside again. So this is the atrium with the glass roof, right? So we are above the lobby. Back here, this is again like overgrown with vines, so we can't walk in there. This is the bridge that connects the two wings of the conservatory, right? So remember, the main entrance was this way, but there's also the other wing, and then you can get into the other wing from this little bridge slash display hall, right? So this is the bridge. More animal displays, more birds, and what is this? Fungus? No, birds. All right, more birds. Some paintings. Birds' eggs? Alright, so this is like the bird hall, I guess. A lot of bird-themed displays here. Not too much for us to look at. Let's go back inside the main building. Alright, let's go into the second story of the main hall, as we can get past the plants, of course. Alright, so we saw the birds from below before. You can see how they're layered up. Closer to the glass roof now, you can see that more clearly. Okay, what are the displays here? Butterflies. On this side we have butterflies. And then some bookshelves. And then there's this weird contraption. This is a plot device, or like a part of the plot. In the game, the story is... Oh, that's Brianna Ashworth, by the way, so she's the head witch. Brianna Ashworth is using this machine to read other people's minds and to try to gain information from them. So we have dead people here, and then we have these magic markings using whale oil, and then the magic channels their thoughts. That like they use these dead people to tap into other living people, and then they channel those thoughts into this machine and then they focus the machine into your brain, and so then you can see what other people are thinking using this machine. That's the story. Of course, nothing like this exists in the real world. This is a plot device. Alright, let's not spend too much time on that because it's not a real thing. Alright, so we're back here. More skeletons in the box. Very creepy. And then we have a lot of displays that are half packed up. Again, not sure what they are supposed to be. We're back here with the elevator. So as we said, we have circulation in front, circulation in the back. And the display hall in between. This is a high security exhibit. At the moment the security has been triggered, and so we can't see inside. It's a little curious that in the entire museum there's only one high security exhibit. And it kind of doesn't fit into the rest of the museum either, right? Like this does kind of sticks out and doesn't really fit the rest of the architecture or the rest of the planning. But again, it's a gameplay device, right? It's a special room with a special loot inside, and you're supposed to get past the security. There's a bloodfly display here, and then there's a lizard again, and some paintings. Alright, so we have some biology exhibits up here. Let's go look at this security thing. There's a whole special room behind the display. So the display is here, and imagine if those steel panels open up. That puts this thing on display, and then there's like an office. Somebody is stationed here permanently. And then there's this huge security device, and then there's beds in here. Why are there beds in here? You mean to say somebody is stationed here 24/7 to look after this? Maybe it is. I mean, maybe the security is high enough that you have a guard. You have guards stationed here 24/7 to keep an eye on whatever displayed here. It seems like a lot of space and a lot of security to dedicate to one object. Wouldn't it make more sense to just secure the whole building and then not have... Anyway, it's a gameplay thing. But it's a little odd, right? And also, if you wonder how do you get in there, that's actually open. So much for security, am I right? It's just open. Alright. So, we have the main display hall there, and on this side there are offices, remember that? Here... Oh, look at this deep blue, and look at all this timber furnishing. So even the office areas are very well furnished. In fact, you might say this is more richly furnished than the display area. I mean, out here there's the green... No, it's about the same. It's about the same. So, you know, sometimes in architecture, especially in architecture where you have some places that are for public access and then some places for private functions. Like the public areas might be more richly decorated than private areas sometimes because you want to impress the public. But you know, it's like the back offices, you don't really bother too much with decorating those. Downstairs in the with the storage area and with the exhibit maintenance area, that was pretty rough. That was like bare brick, wasn't it? Yeah. So downstairs in the basement, there was no fancy furnishing. Here, this is an office area, and presumably the public don't come back here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the public do come back here. I think this is supposed to be like paperwork for the museum. But anyway, what I'm saying is this is also richly furnished, so not sure what to make of that, but it's nice, I guess, for the office workers. At the moment, this place has a bunch of mattresses laid out. So remember how I said the witches have taken over the museum? The witches have turned the office area into a makeshift dormitory, and so they're sleeping on the floor, on their mattresses, they're sleeping on the couch. They've set the rubbish bin on fire. I mean, that's a fire hazard. Got a bit of a sleeping area here. And then over on this side, we have a kitchen, a makeshift kitchen, right next to a dead body. That's not sanitary, don't do that, do not. Don't prepare food next to dead people. It's, you're gonna get diseases. But this kitchen area, oh, there's like crates of canned food as well, that's cool. They've pulled a stove in here, but like the stove is not permanently installed. You can see how the stove is slightly diagonal, so they just kind of drag the stove in here and then just plonked it in the corner. Stuck the pipe out the window, almost out the window, so there should be a chimney here, but there's no chimney, you know, in the building because this is not supposed to be here. So just stick it out the window, and they're cooking food in here. These are office desks which have been, you know, repurposed into a bench top. So that's fun, right? So they put a kitchen in the offices. Yeah, no, this is dubious though. A rotten corpse next to your food. Alright, and then here we have a sort of a... I guess this would be like a staff room. Although it's not a real room. So like a break room for the staff, I guess. Because there's no office desks. There are just couches. Right. And this goes back to the lobby. We don't need to go back there. Back here we have another staircase. And this goes to the 3rd floor. If you remember the map, above the 2nd floor offices, there is a 3rd floor of offices. There are more bloodfly infestation problems up here though. There's a doorway behind all this infestation, which we can't go through. But this would lead to... It actually leads nowhere, if you remember the map. I do have a map in here. Right, let me just go to the map. Maps, Royal Conservatory. So we're on the 3rd floor here. We just came up the stairs. So there's this room? Wait, or is it this room? No, it's this room. So that doorway leads to this space back here, but it's sort of like a negative space. And of course it's not labeled what it is, but it's I don't know what's back there. And I couldn't guess either what's back there. Could be storage, could be more offices, who knows, right? Anyway, on this side there is this sort of office with a blackboard up there. Is this an office or is it... Not sure. I mean, there's a projector. I think this is a projector. But then it's not really a lecture room or anything because the desks are not. And then there's another projector, same arrangement. Not sure how you would use these spaces. The way the tables are set up, it might be like a collaborative workspace, maybe. I don't know. Not sure how this is kind of function this is. A meeting room? A meeting room with a bigger meeting table though. Yeah, not sure. Something along those lines. Some displays here, not sure why, because this is not the public part of the museum. This is the public part of the museum. Coming back out here. Okay, so we have more displays. We have a plant. Are those foxgloves? I think those are foxgloves. We have a musical instrument. A harp, which is another musical instrument. So now we have another thing. So we have plants, animals, books, mechanical devices, musical instruments. Alright, so now we're back in the main hall, display hall. Another level up. And let's check out the displays. Oh, there's more beds. People are sleeping up here as well. These are all ransacked and covered up. There's like photography equipment, it looks like. Photography camera. Alright, so another type of display, this time a photography free thing. What is this a photo of? Kanaka skyline. I'm trying to figure out if this is a part of the city that we can recognize. The answer is no. Unless... no, we don't recognize this. Alright, so coming along this way, we have a room here. This appears to be a map room. We have a drafting table, another drafting table, we have a map on the wall, and then we have rolled up pieces of paper. Map room? Maybe like a... where you draw plans and diagrams? Right. So drafting room. And then over here we have mining equipment and rocks. So this museum has like a little bit of everything, which is kind of strange. Remember the poster outside said that there was supposed to be a special exhibit, but it was cancelled. We don't see the special exhibit that they mentioned, but we see all these other things on display, right? There's all sort of miscellaneous things on display. And then we have a little sitting area with a fireplace. Not sure what this is about. Is this, I mean, is that meant to be cordoned off? Is this supposed to be, is this a display? Or is this like a part of the museum? Not sure what's going on there. This is more mining equipment, I believe. A reflection of my journey to the Pandician continent. Alright, this might be a Pandician continent expedition display. It's just a bit of everything, really. And then these are ship hulls. It's a bit of everything. Alright. Back here, this is the curator's office, right? We are above the lobby. Curator's office is that way. There is a little paperwork storage. Oh, I guess the curator has a secretary, maybe. I mean, there's a desk here, and another desk here. So I guess this is like the curator's staff. And then in here is the curator's office. Look at this, very richly furnished. Although it's not any more richly furnished than the other parts of the museum, right? More importantly is how much stuff there is in here, right? There's bookshelves. And then... oh, what's behind here? Oh, I could have just walked around. We have like plants? More plants? Like there's like display cases inside the curator's office. That's kind of weird. You think you would display things for the guests outside. The curator's desk. A lot of stuff on it. Furniture, and then the curator's office continues up the staircase. Look at all these pictures. Look at all those books. And then on the second floor of the curator's office, there is a little plant area, and it's completely overgrown. I mean, I said that the what's her name? Brianna Ashworth is a witch, and she uses plant magic. So this is Brianna Ashworth's plant lab, which is completely overgrown. It's kind of funny, actually. And more plants out here. And then over here we have another lab. A sort of a... I mean, there's human skulls, so... and then there's a dead body there. Our curator is also cutting people up and experimenting on human bodies. That's gruesome. A lot of human bodies. Interesting. Alright, so I mean, aside from the dead bodies, what is this stuff? I mean, there's like engineering things here, and then there's biology things here. Right, there's plant things, there's animal things, there's machine things, and then here there's chemistry things. It's a little odd that the curator has like has personal labs of everything. I mean, a curator of a museum or a curator of an art gallery or whatever it is they're curating, whatever collection they're curating, the curator should have some expert knowledge on the subject matter, right? But the curator isn't really the person to do any of the research themselves, right? Because the curator's job is to curate, is to like bring together the things and then put them on exhibit, right? And then put them onto the exhibition. So the curator's job is not to do the research, is to like bring things together and put things on display. Whereas these labs, these are like research labs. So I don't know why these are in the curator's office, is what I'm trying to say. Unless the curator themselves is, for some reason, an expert in all these different subjects, and they actually personally do some of this research work. But that would be unusual. That would be unusual. Like usually, like the researchers are a different job from the curator, right? They're two different people usually. But anyway, here we have labs inside the curator's office. If we lean out the window here, and by lean out I mean jump out. So now we are at the very top of the main exhibit hall. I think it's implied that there are more spaces behind there, and behind there, and behind there, but they're not part of the game. We can't actually go in there. I mean, there's like supposedly windows, but I don't know what's supposed to be behind the windows. Back here is the elevator though. I mean, the elevator machines are back here. There's a bit of ventilation, and then so the top of the elevator shaft, and then there's the machinery for the elevator. There's this. Right, so we know what's behind this side of the building. It's brick on the inside, by the way. But yeah, not sure what's supposed to be behind there or there. So again, like there are, as we said, like the other wing of the building we can't access, and then up here there are these things up here we can't access. So it is implied that the conservatory is quite a bit bigger than the parts that we can explore. Right, so up here, on the other end of the curator's office, we have a roof area. Not really the roof, because the roof is up there, right? So this is the entry atrium with the glass roof on top. But below the glass roof there are the museum buildings, and these sort of have a roof. We have a giant tree here, and we have other plants in here. So I mean we can't say that there are no plants in the conservatory. There are some plants in the conservatory. But this is like a private area that only the curator has access to. These are not doorways. These are windows. They're not doorways. So the only person who comes back here is the curator. Oh, there's a doorway here, I guess. But this space is not connected to the public spaces. It's not connected to the public display area. So it's like a private. So these plants are not for public display. Yeah, I don't know how any of this makes any sense. I mean, we do know that the curator is a plant witch, and I guess she keeps plants for herself. This is pretty cool though. Unfortunately, most of that is dark. We can't really see very much. At the very top there, you'll notice there is ventilation, right? Greenhouses do get quite hot, right? And because it's enclosed, and because there are plants down here, you need to keep the air flowing, otherwise the plant will suffocate, right, from lack of carbon dioxide. So the ventilation is what you would find in an actual greenhouse where there are a lot of plants. So in the actual greenhouse, ventilation like that would be necessary. I'm not sure there's enough plants in here for that to make sense though. I mean, as I said, if this was actually a conservatory and there are a lot of plants in here, then okay, those definitely fit. But there are significantly fewer plants here than you would expect. Also, remember there's a big tree back there. right? But directly underneath the tree is actually a building. This is glass, so that's open space back there. There's no space for roots. Tree roots are generally, so the tree are generally as big underground as they are above ground, right? So however big a tree is above ground, you can usually expect the roots to be equally big underneath. So that should be like all dirt, and that should be the tree roots, but that's not what's happening here. I guess if you force the tree to grow in a shallow space, they'll try to grow and the roots will just grow as far as they can. But a tree that big, with such shallow roots, it would probably fall down, I think. It wouldn't be very stable, that's for sure. Or maybe it just wouldn't grow that big, because if the roots can't get very deep, then the tree itself would not try to grow as big. So I don't think that makes any sense, just saying. Okay, let's go back inside. And with that, we have actually looked at all the parts of the conservatory. Let me get back outside, and then let me think about what all of this actually means for us. Where's the stick? I guess we have to go back out the back. Alright, let's go down the staircase. Second floor. First floor. And then back out. And then like this sort of thing, it's decorative, but it's not really a plant collection. Okay, Royal Conservatory, back outside. Alright, let's summarize. What do I have to say about all this? So the conservatory, as we said at the beginning, in the real world, a conservatory is a greenhouse for collecting plants that would otherwise not be able to grow in the local environment. So it's a building for growing exotic plants. But this conservatory does not have very many exotic plants. I don't think it has any exotic plants. Maybe like a few in a few small pots, but not enough to justify being called a conservatory. Instead of being what a conservatory actually is, what it is in the game is a museum. Now why would that be? I can speculate, and I don't know why, but if I had to speculate, we might say that maybe they had to change it for gameplay reasons or for technical reasons. Because here's the thing with a lot of plants. Plants usually take up a lot of geometry. Because plants, they have irregular shapes, and then they have a lot of leaves, right? And so all the leaves are a lot of polygons. Maybe this is not as obvious because we're far away, and so then you can get away with using fewer polygons. But if you're in a conservatory, if you're seeing the plants up close, it's very hard to make the leaves look realistic without using a lot of polygons, right? You need like one polygon for every single leaf. So it could be that, for technical reasons and also for gameplay reasons. So trees, I mean, you might think, oh, trees, you can climb into a tree, and this game is like climbing stealth game where you jump around. So we can have a tree gameplay. Well, yes and no. Like in a video game, because of the irregular geometry of the tree, actually having tree climbing gameplay is super complicated and not very easy to do well. In fact, like, if you think about it, how many video games have you played has actual tree climbing gameplay? Right? Realistic tree climbing gameplay. Zero? I don't think I've ever seen or played a game that has, like compelling tree climbing gameplay. So, like, in terms of gameplay, tree climbing is not really a thing, and like a plant's another thing. In terms of trying to render plants in the video game, like, I think too much geometry and too complicated. And it might even like confuse the AI as well, because trees, like tree leaves, they're kind of semi-transparent. Dishonored is a stealth game. I mean, it should be. I mean, you don't have to play it. You can just like kill everyone and go loud. But if you choose to play the stealth part of the stealth game, like having leaves, like how does the AI decide whether they see you through the leaves or not, right? Because if it's a wall, okay, I'm behind the wall, you can't see me, or I'm hidden, right? Whereas if I'm in front of the wall, you can see me, I'm not hidden. But leaves are like, okay, I mean they kind of cover, but they kind of don't cover, and so then how do you decide in terms of gameplay issues? Like, oh, how does the AI take longer to see you because you're half hidden? Who knows? So maybe the whole plant thing, like the plant conservatory thing, maybe it just doesn't work for the gameplay, and it doesn't work for like for the game engine for technical reasons, for like geometry and texture reasons. And so maybe during game development it was supposed to be a conservatory, but they had to just change it because the planting didn't work. The planting just didn't work out. And so they changed it into a museum. But they were maybe too late in the development cycle to change everything. So they couldn't change all the conservatory references, and they didn't want to remake all the signs because, like, that says Royal Conservatory. They don't want to redo the script. They don't have to re-record the voice acting because in the voice acting they also talk about the Royal Conservatory. So if you have to change the level after all that other stuff is done, then you're kind of forced to stick with Royal Conservatory, but then you just change the interior of the building so that instead of it being filled with plants, it's a museum. So it's still kind of a conservatory, not really. It's kind of a conservatory building, and it's kind of still a display thing, but you're displaying books and things instead of trees. And if that's the case, that would also explain why all the stuff in the museum is really unremarkable. Like, it's a whole lot of mundane things that are not really worthy of museum display. Let me just run back inside again. And in fact, a lot of these are recycled assets from other parts of the game. Like, if you look at the stuff, alright, bookshelves, okay, they're books. Like, if you look at these objects, these are all objects that are found in other parts of the game. The whale oil container, right, these gear things, which is from the robot, I believe, the Clockwork Soldier. And then, like, these arc pylon components, these are all like bits and pieces from the game assets. So these are just game assets that are made for other parts of the game, which then they've like taken the art assets and the geometry assets, and they just put them on the walls and then put them inside the display cases, and then they call it a museum. So they didn't even have time to make new museum display assets. They just took whatever assets they had in their library and they stuck them in the conservatory and then turned it into a museum. That's what it looks like, or at least like everything we can see is consistent with that particular hypothesis, right? And if that is true, that would explain what happened here. Like, why is the conservatory not a real conservatory? Why is it a museum? And then why is all the stuff in the museum just really ordinary objects that you find in other parts of the game, right? That would explain everything. Right. And so aside from that, if we kind of step back and look at the general thing, as I said earlier, the conservatory is ornately built and well maintained. So well funded. Oh, I just said that, and then there's peeling wallpaper here. My bad. Okay, it's mostly well maintained, but the witches did take over relatively recently. If you come back here, Yes, the witches did take over, and they did turn this into a dormitory slash kitchen. But you'll notice that everything is still mostly intact, right? I think what is implied is that the witches haven't actually been here very long, right? So they have recently moved in. And so they haven't done that much damage yet. They've done some damage, like there are plants growing inside the building and all that, but they haven't done that much damage. So the conservatory, ornate, well-maintained, so well-funded public science, and then the witches have moved in recently, but not long enough to have destroyed everything. Relatively little sign of decay, although, I mean, it's not pristine, but, you know, it's not too bad. And that's the Royal Conservatory. Alright, so I guess I'm gonna end the video here. Alright, I don't have anything else to say. The next video will be the Dust District. Remember the mining district that we saw on the map and on the skyline, on the city skyline earlier? Anyway, that's gonna be the next video. I will see you there.